Actually, I have a question. Is there a word for a subtitle that's a secret subtitle, like Angels in America's secret subtitle is a gay fantasia on, what is it, American themes or something like that, and you only see that when you open the book. So this has one of those, Salon des Fantômes, or streptohermetic prompt engineering for the production of a jagged noetic substrate. Streptohermetic is a word I made up, I think, from a Greek word meaning twist or turn, and hormetic meaning stress. So I was thinking about something I've been really interested in thinking about this weekend is the kind of, not quite the house style, but the kind of treffery organizing principles, and I think there's more than one. And I was trying to think, how do I fit into this vibe that John is so masterfully curated and shaped, and it's not in certain ways. So this will not be a surprise to you. I've never listened to a black metal song on purpose. That's just not my aesthetic. I'm getting into it. I'm getting into it.
Cool.
I'm actually, it's just something that's new to me, and I'm learning about from this scene. And I talked about this with Doug. Like I actually want the course on how to hear it. I'm not saying that in like a jokey, ironic way. Like I literally do want to hear it. It's just not where I come from. But I think the connection is stress, is hormesis, is kind of pain, and thinking about writing as a kind of painful thing and trying to dial up the pain. So I think that's kind of, and so to do that, to dial up the pain on myself, already there was pain involved in this process, writing this book in 5 days, less than a week. I was talking about this with Michael, to do that, even though I had AI assistance, it felt at the end like, it felt like my hands had like norovirus and they were trying hard not to throw up. That's kind of the feeling that I had at the end of it. It was really painful.
Sorry.
No, it's in like a good way. So I'm going to not read. So what I'm going to do is not read anything that was AI generated today. I'm only going to read my own words. But I want you to get a taste for kind of what the structure was. So I've recruited a few people to help me. I have Brandon and I have Michael and I have Douglas, who are doing. So there are words by me, and there are words by these AI characters. Some of them are kind of ghosts of intellectuals, but tweaked. So Mao, but really into jazz, or some kind of Simone Weil character. There's an angel. There are demons. So maybe there is something kind of black metal about it that I don't even perceive about myself. So what I want to do to start out is I would like to perform a kind of structure that organizes the book, which is that we're going to talk about artworks. So I wanted to have thoughts about artwork that I couldn't have on my own, but maybe AI could help me have. So I've given these three really, these new really good friends, two pieces of art to compare. This is something that I did in the book. So this is Yves Klein, one of his blue paintings from a blue color that he invented. And this is Richard Serra's Tilted Arc that was put in the Federal Plaza in New York for a short amount of time before it was removed. And so the question, and I do this with a bunch of random pairs of artworks in the book, is I have to answer which one is better, which one do I like more. But first I ask my my minions, my sub-judges, to help me out by giving me their opinion. And then my judges to hear it, to take it in, to think with it, and to come to my own opinion. To shape these sub-judges, I've given them each a character, and this is what I did with the AI in the book. I gave them a character. So we have a Latvian architect who's a Latvian architect who's grew up in Soviet Latvia and has ambivalent but kind of aesthetically positive recollections of the time. We have Michael. Can you share your
Like the name and everything?
Yeah, yeah.
Father, mother, Saba logo?
Yeah.
A stern, demanding mother or father who judges everything according to harsh moral expectations,
Yeah.
especially to be selfless, hardworking, and pure.
Yeah, and then third we have Douglas, your character.
Is Midori Grappa, a University of Tokyo Todai graduate who now works for a consulting firm specializing in global supply chain services.
Yeah, so these are my three helpers who are going to give me their opinion, then I'm going to take it all in, synthesize it, and come to my opinion. So first, so could someone start? Just tell me which is better, please. I need to figure out which one is better.
Okay, I did the Richard Serra.
Yeah.
Russ tilts against federal. Yes, the bisecting Sovietize the struggle to commute. Hack against commodographic curves. Thinking space, where was the space? Think straight. Back up the closing train suck. Oh no, yes. But of course, Rust tactile, Rust actualizing. You may call it the colleague-comrade pipeline, but it is mostly silently not called at all Sarah tilted arc.
Thank you, Latvian architect. And could you remind me so each of you had a word that you had to use?
Thinking space.
Thinking space, thank you. And can we go with father, mother, Savalogo?
Savalogo. I did the blue one.
Yeah, okay. So we have a disagreement that I'll have to sort out.
The sky is the sky, blue is blue. You don't know what's going on. Reality is not reality, it is unreality. What must you do? You will feel guilty if you do not think the way you are supposed to think. How I have raised you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
And the phrase was, you want me to say it?
Please.
You will feel guilty if you, and then whatever I want.
All right.
Midori Grow.
Richard Serra as well.
Okay.
This may be conceited, but the gold one. The thing delivered by dusk in waves all at once. A situation of reverse logistics. It is brought to you in the reverie of one who waits. In this silence I have no other ear. Everything is damp, a pleasure uncertain to us, but clearly one belonging to Moss.
And thank you so much, and your
Reverse logistics.
Reverse logistics. Okay, so now it's my job, and this happened in the book many times. I have to kind of figure out what I think. I will just note right off the bat a strange tension here. We have this Soviet architect and this, I think it's fair to say, a capitalist who's interested in operations research aspects of Richard Serra, who has, they've come to the same agreement. So that makes me feel like maybe there's something, okay, maybe I'm wondering, do I need to sort out which of these two opinions I believe in? Do I need to think that there's something about the Richard Serra piece that is, maybe one of you is wrong, and it's actually, it actually is a communistic piece. I think maybe there is something, I mean, this is a wall, though we know that capitalism can produce its walls. Certainly at this time, a different wall would have been more salient when this was put up. So I'm wondering, maybe what I'm thinking now is that I like the Richard Serra piece exactly because it produced this tension. You had a phrase about a kind of pipeline of people that maybe I like that because it makes me think that maybe that's something that should have come out of your mouth, actually, because a pipeline is what you, as an operations research specialist, that's what you're concerned with. Just in the sake of concluding, I think I'm going to pick, with respect, I'm going to side with the majority opinion on this one and say that the laurels, I'm placing the laurels on the brow of Richard Serra, RIP, recently, for Tilted Arc, simply because I think it produced a question for me of whether the way it directs people is in the direction of a pipeline. Can you have a communistic pipeline? I think that's what I'm thinking about now that I've seen your opinions, or I've heard your opinions. Okay, so thank you. So we have one more comparison. This is between two paintings, two fairly famous paintings, one by Berthe Morisot, Woman at Her Toilette, and another one by Frankenthaler, Helen Frankenthaler, This is Mountains and Sea. So again, my job is to determine which one of these I like better, which one should receive the laurels. So I'd like to maybe start in this direction now. Can we hear first from Midori Grappa?
Okay, so the Frankenthaler.
Yeah.
Let you first understand, I was at the birth of cement, so I have seen that particular slow-moving stock of something acting on itself. Here I mean this to say, choose the one that is C-formed, not any resulting from the strategies of E-procurement. With this choice, I promise you can wake lightly as if steam, but do not do this for the sake of any of my demons.
Thank you. And what was your word that you had used?
E-procurement and slow-moving stock.
Okay, thank you. And again, Father, Mother, Sabalogo.
So we're doing a Frankenthaler.
Okay,
Again,
so
as
two
well.
Frankenthaler.
Yep, and you are a selfish, greedy person. You don't know what you like. You don't know anything. I am the ruling mother and father at the same time. I see myself in this painting more than I see you. And I see more than you will ever see in the painting because I am the reigning figure in the hierarchy that is this situation. Greed and punishment will never end. What I believe is the beginning. You should always feel happiness, but also be merciless to your enemies. That is the conclusion.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And Latvian architect.
I chose the Morisot.
Yeah.
The itself could be feathery and tonal, if seized, out of that moment. The world's largest electric shovel is, in Kansas, or pinpoint 19th century swivel upon reality/ergonomy. But of course you and I, feminine indication, I re-woman the without advertisements toileterature of simply getting ready. Have you heard of that, men? One must be ready as Paris, or pivot twist, cloud upon heat cold, Paris as urbane enabling, a person envisioned until they dress. Berthe Morisot's Woman at Her Toilette, oil light digitized, material evaporating into materialisms.
Thank you. And could you share your words that you had to use?
Without advertisements and ergonomy.
Thank you. And
My words are you should always and merciless.
Okay, thank you. So now it's my job again. At first I was really fascinated by this claim that you made that it looked more like you than like me, and actually I resonate with that. I think you're right, and I think that the way I understand that is you, Father, Mother, are making a claim about gender somehow in a way that that's something that Frankenthaler is activating in this painting in a kind of ambivalent way that I didn't notice before. I didn't notice that before, but now I do. However, I think I'm going to side with the minority opinion on this one. Okay, I thought this was about relaxation or kind of leisure almost, but I can't remember the line, but you said something about kind of the need. I got the impression of a need to be prepared, kind of gearing up, kind of getting ready to go in a serious way. That made me, from my, you might say, my gendered position, I didn't appreciate previously. Something about this activity as a serious putting on of equipment for life, not mere beauty, not mere private beauty. So for that reason, I think I learned multiple new things, but I think that I've been convinced that this is the one that should win. So I placed the laurels on the brow of Berthe Morisot. Thank you so much. Can we have applause for those who are so beautiful? Thank you so much for doing that. Having done that, I'm just going to read for a few minutes. So that was meant to illustrate the sort of structure of how I made the AI talk. AI is really inherently boring. It is inherently boring in a statistical sense. And so my struggle was to get it to be, okay, not nearly as interesting as these three voices that I got. I was very privileged to get to think against and with, but nonetheless to try to make them more interesting than they were sort of out of the box. So one of the strategies that I developed was simply the random word trick. If you make the AI say, tell me this, but also you have to use the word rutabaga or sandbox or thinking cement or whatever it is, it will struggle to make sense of that, that word. And in its failure to do so, it will end up being a little more interesting than it would have otherwise. I don't want to give any time to the AI speech, so I'm just going to read sort of, now that you've seen what a conversation looks like, I'm just going to read from the other side of it. I'm just going to only read mine, and you're going to have to infer, what was spoken. And I'll read for about 5-10 minutes. So who will receive the top prize? Derek Jarman's Blue or Ed Ruscha's painting of the Los Angeles County Museum on fire? There was an allusion to that. Someone else mentioned that. Various judges chimed in, sub-judges, and then they have spoken. Now considering these wise noticings, yield your final word and lay your laurel down. Kyle decides. I agree with the somewhat obvious sentiment here. Jarman's video is simply more moving. I don't hate people. I don't think fire, strong, fierce is better than blue peace. Oh, I should say there's some Unicode characters that I don't know how to pronounce. Catch says, Derek Jarman's Blue is a work of art that clamorously challenges our sense and forces us to pay attention, to contemplate and meditate on the text that appears on the screen. It lures us into a space of serenity and peace, and yet it is filled with Jarman's musings on life and death, so I'm quoting the AI. That's true, actually. The narrated text is at times riotous, overgrown, like a rose garden that Jarman might well have had little time or energy to tend to at that point. Wotton Jeffson says, it's like I'm in my room playing an N64 game and I'm just engulfed in this calm and peaceful blue screen. It's really nice. I can't explain why. Video games are frantic, not still like Jarman's film, but I agree with this anyway. The laurel must be placed upon the brow of Derek Jarman's Blue. Who will receive the top prize? Christo and Jean-Claude's Surrounded Islands or Cézanne's painting of Mont Sainte-Victoire? Kyle decides. Mont Blanc is the outlier here, though I don't agree with his politics. He's a mountain a monarchist. I have to agree with his suspicion of ephemerality. Why do we assume that the ephemeral thing, be it Brigadoon or the pop-up restaurant within another restaurant, is the better version of whatever it is? Probably for a simple reason. Most art endures, so the non-enduring art is special by comparison. If most art were fleeting, durable art would titillate. But we need this to sort out this business of ephemerality versus durability. Mont Blanc, as a mountain, naturally praises the imposing, majestic durability of the mountain that Cézanne painted. But Mont Blanc's description of this painting overstates the case. After all, aren't the leaves in this painting given the exact same rock-like texture as the mountain itself? Or is not the mountain given the leaf-like lightness of the leaves? When leaves and mountains are confused, so are permanence and transience. Transipermeance. Calvin was closer to the truth when he denigrated Cézanne's painting as, quote, mere expression of his inner eye, a fleeting moment of inspiration. A fleeting misperception made durable through the medium of paint. The Stiglerian point to make here is that Cézanne's perception, maintained through great force like holding a cubit, made possible his retention, the painting, which then, when we look at it enough, forms within us more durable mental retentions, memories of the painting / mental model of Cézanne-ness, that in turn color our own ability to see the world, protensional capacity / retentions as pre-filter of experience. The laurel must be placed on the brow of Cézanne's painting of Mont Sainte-Victoire. Do one more from this section, then I'll go back to the beginning. Who will receive the top prize? A photograph from Matthew Barney's Drawing Restraint Project or Helen Frankenthaler's Mountains and Sea? Kyle decides. Wollstonecraft My Boone colleague gives us the standard interpretation. Barney, the football player, played football at Yale, is doing his macho art, showing how high he can jump while still painting and looking svelte and strong, especially for a professional artist. Beauvoir's point has taken me by surprise, however, and it helps me think about something I'm trying to do with the way I write under constraint, with trampolines and ropes composed of dork stuff stack overflowing. I need to figure out how to communicate why the most macho thing, how to look how high I can run with all these heavy stones on my face, is also the least macho thing. I'm a fool, and I need to be reformed. What's missing is a theory of the student. Helen thought, ha, I seriously just typed that. I'm tired. What's not to love? So that's kind of the end of the book where I ran out of steam because I was so tired, and the rest of them, you can fill in your own. It's kind of a workbook, you can fill in your own. I'm gonna skip back to the beginning for just like 3 or 4 minutes and just read a little bit of these looser conversations that we had about topics like what clouds are the best. Yes, what I mean by cloud-like is simply that we recognize it as a cloud. Maybe I could say it as a platonic cloud, but I don't really want to go there. I think that they are maybe not the most beautiful clouds, but they have the best ratio of low rarity. We can see them in lots of places, not just at the poles, for instance, to beauty. This explains why we recognize them as the most cloud-like cloud, as I said. Yes, by low rarity, I simply mean that they appear all over. I think that some clouds you can only see in certain places or in certain very rare conditions. My intuition, though I'd have to look this up to be sure, is that the cumulus cloud appears, if not everywhere, in many places under typical meteorological circumstances. Some may say that this makes cumulus clouds less valuable, but I say no. Clouds are basically air and water, both of which are universal pleasures, and so should a cloud be. Beauty is harder to define. I think that the beauty of the cumulus has to do with it looking like an object, rather than a background. Even though it is big, we can see the edges of it. We can regard it as an object, if a very big one. If we could not see the edges, it would be, as some clouds are, sublime instead. I think here we're talking about what the Pantone color of the year from 1740 should have been. How might the pigment of the British soldiers' coats impacted the outcome of the War of Austrian Succession, which was, I believe, the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, which, as I understand, made nobody particularly happy. How might we use neural conditioning? One of the characters was a scientist and started talking about neural conditioning, so I wanted to ask about this. How might we use neural conditioning actively to help us, quote, break free of complexity? For instance, I'm very busy. I have a lot of day-to-day complexity in my life, balancing work, family, errands, thinking. I find that I have less and less time for thinking, actually. How could I use neural conditioning with color to simplify my life, to allow me to think more in less time? Could you give me some step-by-step instructions regarding how to neurally condition myself with the color red as I go about my day? In my experience, unnatural colors have a more dramatic effect on neural pathways, my neural pathways at least, than natural colors. The deep purple blue, I guess more of a neon indigo, that they use on the tarmac of some airports, functions as an ambient, slow-release benzodiazepine. Actually, I never thought about it, but that's maybe why they use this color in airports. And some outdoor Christmas lights, Christmas being another moment when people are often under stress. I remember seeing these lights one time when I was in the window seat in a plane on the way to a funeral, and it was winter. And this color, emitted from little beakers up and down the tarmac, had an immediate effect on the neural pathways of my limbic system. I think it was probably at DTW. I couldn't be sure, but I associate this deep glowing blue, blue that seems to be purple, light that seems to want to be darkness, with my time in Michigan. I think I'll end there. Thank you so much.
And we're right,